Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Jackie Barrie from Writing see, I messed it up. I messed it up already. I do writing without waffle. Clearly, I write better than I speak because I tangled my tongue around that introduction. Anyway, I'm here thanks to the invitation from Marina Nani, which I much appreciate, to talk to you a little bit about words, writing, websites, and other things that begin with W, as it happens. So, why me? Why am I qualified to talk about writing? Well, when I was at school, the thing I was the best at was English, writing English. And of course, when you get to about the age of 13, and adults always say to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's that horrible question. But I was one of those rare people that had an answer. I knew I wanted to be a writer. It was my favourite thing. It was the thing I was best at. And my mum's friend said, well, you want to be a writer. Here's a writing competition in the local church newsletter. You have a go at that and see how you get on. And the competition was to write a story about the country that was then changing its name from the French and Belgian Congo into Zaire. It's now called the it's called the Democratic Republic of the Congo again. But then it was changing its name to Zaire. And at the same time, my friend's mum gave me a copy of the National Geographic magazine that had an article in it about Zaire. Because without that, I wouldn't have known what to write. I wouldn't have known what the country looked like. I wouldn't have known the typical names of people or things like that. So I used this article in the National Geographic magazine to make up a story. I entered the competition and I won the competition. And it was a really early lesson in the importance of doing research before you start putting pen to paper or putting your fingers to keypad or keyboard. Because you can't really write without doing your research first. Now, back in those days, careers advice at my school, it wasn't particularly good. And they said to me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a writer. They said, oh, no, you don't, because writers just starve in a garret. And the only kind of writing they'd ever heard of that made any money is journalism. So I ended up, after my A-levels, leaving school and went off and trained to be a journalist, but I never actually worked as one, because the first job I ever got was writing for Freeman's Catalogue, which sells fashion and household goods. So the kind of writing I did was things like black skirt, 2 patch pockets, available in sizes 10, 12, 14, 16, all garments washable, please see size guides at the back of the catalogue. And after 6 months, I was so thrilled to be paid to be a writer at last, but after 6 months, that bored me a bit, and I ended up moving on within the company to another department. And in that department, we sold items off the page in catalogues and in sales promotions of all sorts. And I ended up running that department. So I had a team of writers and designers reporting to me. After some time, I got seconded to the marketing department to do an internal communications project, and I was traveling all over the place on expenses, having more fun than anyone has a right to in all their working life. When I went back to my old department after this secondment, this project had finished, my old job wasn't there anymore. And so I was running projects, still in the creative team of 100 people, but I wasn't writing, and writing was what I joined the company to do. So when I got the chance of redundancy, which was 15 years ago now, that's what I did, set up on my own, and now I write for all sorts of clients, all sorts of things, helping them sell their brand, their product, their services by using the words that they write on their websites and in their other marketing communications. About 10 years ago, I realised I'm a senior copywriter. I've been doing this actually now more than 30 years. And I know the psychology that makes a person take the action you want them to take. I know about search engine optimization. I know all the marketing tips, tricks, techniques that will make your words work in your marketing. But I also knew I could train people how to do it themselves. So the other aspect of my business is training sole traders, entrepreneurs, business owners, small businesses, how to write their own web copy, make it really work. And I train aspiring copywriters how to run a copywriting business, particularly in a couple of niche areas I train. For example, I train recruiters how to write better recruitment ads. I could do the same for estate agents, how to write better estate agent ads. And I train freelance journalists how to add copywriting into their skill set so they get another income stream. So, Marina, is that enough of a background about how I got where I am today and what I do?
Well, it's pity we can't talk to the people who made you win that competition. They will have a thing or two to say about it. And I was wondering, Jackie, how you felt when your first article, your first big idea, your first challenge turned into an opportunity. When you turn yourself into the opportunity, when people start reading what you wrote, how you felt inside, what is that you experience thinking, oh my God, it's out there?
The first time was after college when I was working in an office calculating alterations to insurance policies. Now that's numbers, not words, and it was pre-computers because that's how old I am. But I had gone for writing jobs and they all said, well, you haven't got office experience. So I thought I'd better go off and get some office experience. And that's what I did. I got a job in this office and I was calculating people's school fees plans and their endowment mortgages and all these things to do with numbers. But the company was an Australian company and they had an Australian staff magazine that had actually won some kind of gold award for being best staff magazine. And it's the company was AMP, Australian Mutual Provident, which was, I think, the biggest insurance company in the world at the time. And so they had this impressive staff magazine, and I made the effort to write and submit articles to the magazine, which they published. And that was my first published work over there in Australia. And the feeling to have something in print with your name on it, the joy of that has never gone away.
Wow. So you just said the joy. Why I was laughing is because I was thinking the other day about my very first poem was published. It was handwritten and was published in a school magazine, right?
Yes.
So I came with the idea and then I had to bring other people and convince them to write whatever comes to their mind. And then we were short of one page. So I had to write a poem myself. I couldn't write anything else or think of anything else. And I'm thinking now, this is so long ago, but yet I feel that I'm getting younger simply because doesn't matter when it happened. And for our listeners, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. And we are mentioning memories from which seems to be quite a while ago, and yet your passion is growing and you are growing each day. You become better than yesterday, if that's even possible. And yet, what are you going next? What's happening, Jackie? Give it to us. Give us the breaking news. What is exciting in your life apart from everything? What is one thing that is so exciting and you can't wait to share it with our listeners?
What a great question. I've been growing the speaking and training side of the business, as I said. And one of the things I discovered 2 years ago, I fell in love. What I fell in love with was improvised comedy. And I was at a workshop where we were told at the beginning, by the end of this 1 hour session, 4 of you will stand up and perform a play with no script at all. And it will be brilliant and hilarious. And I thought in my head at that time, not in a million years would I do that. And yet we worked through an hour of improvised comedy games and I was enjoying myself so much. It got to the end, I'd completely forgotten about this promise that the workshop facilitator had made. It was John Creamer, author of a book called Improv. And there were 4 chairs on stage and 3 people got up and sat on the chairs ready to perform this play with no script. The 4th chair was empty and somehow my legs disconnected from the rest of my brain and my body and walked me to sit on the fourth chair without my conscious will having anything to do with it. And we acted this play with no script, and riding on the audience laughter was so brilliant that I have since immersed myself in learning more and more about improv and practicing and playing as much as I can. Not because I want to be a performer in a show. In fact, I have to force myself on stage every time because I'm the kind of person that likes to be prepared, and to exercise this muscle, this spontaneity, and to be happy being in the moment, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what you're going to say or do, has been, yes, the new great love of my life.
Wow. So Jackie, coming back to writing, do you write first in your mind, or you have a piece of paper handy or something handy to write down what is coming up on you? Or how is that process happening? The writing process. How are the words coming to you? Do you chase them? They chase you? What's happening?
The research process, a bit like that Zaire story I told at the beginning, is very much me using my interviewing skills from my journalism training to get information out of the person, the business owner, the company that I'm writing for. I then do online research as well, and all the time the words are in my head and starting to come together. And yes, I will start making handwritten notes, and I might do mind maps, and I might make lists, or I might just start writing. But the secret, the first draft, it almost doesn't matter what the first draft is like, because then it's a case of editing to make sure that every word there counts. And sometimes the experience is as if I've got nothing to do with it. When I'm in the flow, the words come from somewhere else in the universe, and I'm just a channel, and they fall off the end of the pen, or they fall off my fingertips when I'm typing, and I take no responsibility for them. It feels as though I've nothing to do with me, and those are usually the best ones. Those are the ones where everything flows, makes perfect sense, and works.
Wow. Jackie, you know, we call at Radio W.O.R.K.S world, we call Monday Grand Monday. And you know what? You just made it grander. So I know people are fantasizing with this idea of making a living out of writing and copywriting, and it's a very, very competitive field, and you know this better than anyone. So what are your strengths, or what would somebody look before into themselves and need to find before embracing this path?
Well, the ability to spell and use grammar properly is not everything that you're being paid for. The difference between being a copywriter and being any other kind of writer is that a copywriter always has an objective, and that's part of the interviewing skill, to find out what that objective is, what is the most wanted response of the client for that piece of writing that you're doing, and turn that into a call to action. And so it's the art, the craft, and the skill of using words in such a way that the reader will take the action that the client wants them to take. And that might be click a button, visit a website, download a document, sign up for a newsletter or a tip sheet. But there's always pretty much always an action that your words are supposed to trigger.
So words have power.
And they certainly do.
So humans are the only alive creatures who could think for themselves. Actually, for me, is almost like I can't hide anywhere from words. You know, they're chasing me. They're chasing me down. I have to write them down, and I keep a piece of paper and a pen by my bed. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I forget about it, and then in the morning I have these words. So when you speak to yourself, you as a human being, you have the ability to choose the words, and most of our listeners experience this on a daily basis when they choose great words, they'll have a great day, they'll have a great experience, they will meet with amazing people. It's simply by choosing the words which are formulating their thoughts. And when you are a copywriter, it's as if you are choosing the words for your audience, for the people who are going to read, to give them the message, to give them the right message and to the right people. And it seems that this is a big challenge for most of our listeners, choosing the right words for the right audience. How do you balance them?
Well, there's a couple of thoughts I would pick up on what you've just said. And one of them was when I was doing my degree, I did a degree in psychology, and copywriting and psychology are very close together. And in one of the exercises, they asked us to draw a self-portrait. And I drew a self-portrait, and it had all the letters of the alphabet all around my head. And because those are the tools of my trade, and I identify so strongly with being a writer. And my head, I'm always writing. I write for clients, but in my spare time, I would do my own writing. But when it comes to the power of language to change behaviour, and it made me think of a kinesiology experiment I saw once, which was where someone on stage was asked to put their arm out straight, and the trainer was trying to push their arm down, and the person was trying to resist it. And they did the same exercise holding things that were known to be toxic, such as a cigarette. And even though when they were holding the cigarette, the facilitator pushed their arm right down, they lost all their strength by holding the cigarette. Without the cigarette, their arm was strong. Same thing holding coffee, same thing holding a spirit-based marker pen. But what was really interesting, same thing happened even if the toxic substance was behind them and they didn't know what it was. But the same thing happened with words. So coming to the power of words. When the person was holding their arm out to the side and they were repeating powerful, strong words like love, their arm was so strong. But when they were saying words like hate, their arm lost all its power. Now, the purpose of this demonstration was to say that the words, the self-talk in your head, or the words that you use when you're communicating with other people, when you're using positive words, it gives you physical strength. And when you're using negative words, it takes away your physical strength.
Wow. You see, when I met you recently at the Business Mastery that is organized by our legendary, inspirational, amazing genius, Mo, I was taken by your story. You know, you're sharing with such humor, and it was natural to you. You know, you made no effort, and of course, you've been speaking around the world, and you help thousands and thousands of people to get their head around words and use the power of words and become very confident about what they are about simply by using the words. But you also mentioned something very interesting. You said signage, use the right signage, and stayed with me. And since I changed the way I blog, actually I entered a 30 days challenge, blogging challenge, and I changed the way I blog. And guess what? Using your signage, using your formula, I have like over 300 emails in 1 week related to the blog. It's just applying what you're sharing with us. But coming back to the signage, and I'm very, very grateful for everything you share and your generosity of spirit and your humor, because I love the humor. And I wonder if you could share with our listeners that little story when you're trying to find your room. You're in South Africa, yes.
I was invited to speak about websites at a conference in South Africa, and to fly from the UK as an overnight flight, so I was tired when I landed, and went to check into my hotel. But before I could check in, the generous hospitality of the South Africans was such that they took me out wine tasting all day, and then to a braai, which is a barbecue. And I didn't get back to the hotel till about 10:30, by which time I was really quite tired, and I had tasted some wine, which was delicious. But checked into the hotel and they told me my room number was 2221. And to get to my room, I had to cross a courtyard, go up a tower, get out of the lift on the second floor, and I'd see a sign. So I did that, saw the sign, and the numbers on the sign listed the room numbers that would be found in that direction. So off I walked down the corridor and couldn't find my room at all. Went back to the corridor thinking I'd mixed up the 2s and 1s in my head, double checked, no, it was right, that was where the sign led me, and off I went down the corridor. But I still couldn't find the room with that number, and what I did find was an empty lounge with closed fire doors. And I took the risk of opening those fire doors because I wasn't going to walk all the way back down the corridor, all the way down the tower, all across the courtyard, back to reception to see if to admit I couldn't find my room. So I opened the fire doors and luckily the bells didn't go off, but what I did see was another corridor and walked all the way along that, and I still couldn't find my room. But I did find another lounge with another set of closed fire doors, and I flung those open and found another corridor and walked all the way along that, and eventually I found my room and it was perfectly fine. And it wasn't till daylight I realised that the hotel was in a quadrangle and I'd walked around 3 sides of it in order to find my room because the signage directed me the long route instead of the short route to get where I needed to go. And I share that story when I do talks about websites and navigation because the signage that you have to add in your marketing communications needs to take people the quickest route to find what they're looking for and not the route not let them get lost or risk them getting lost or having an unpleasant experience on the way to finding what it is that they're looking for. So yeah, that was the story. True story.
Great story, and it's so real because you see people are thinking, okay, I have the rest of my life to let my customer know what I do for them, and actually only have perhaps best case scenario 3 seconds.
3 seconds to grab their attention. People browsing the internet are very quick to click away if they don't see at a glance what it is that they're looking for.
So what is your key message, Jackie, for our listeners who now they're aware that the word got not only spiritual power, but actually could change your physical power, could make you walk taller, and could make you walk and feel 10 feet tall? What is your key message for our listeners today?
Take the starting point as the customer journey so that you write things what I call bottom up rather than top down. Top down means it's the company talking to the audience, and your starting point might be to spread out all your wares on the table and say we do this and we do this and we do this and do this. What you actually need to do is start bottom up, because the power is with the people that, if in a marketing sense, have the money that you're trying to get out of their pocket. Use them as a starting point, put yourself in their shoes and write using their language and make their journey towards purchasing your product or service as simple, quick and easy as it possibly can be, so that you're respecting their time. And those busy people then will choose you as their supplier. Seems
so easy when you say it, Jackie. Perhaps our listeners will need to connect with you and learn a little bit more. So what is the best way to connect with you, Jackie?
Well, there are lots of resources on my website, which is jackiebarrie.com, JACKIE, and then BARRIE.com. On the blog, there are over 1,000 blog posts giving advice. There's a free page of resources where people can download useful information. I've written 3 books, and they're on Amazon, The Little Fish Guide to DIY Marketing, and then there's one for networking, there's one for writing your own website. And there is my tip sheet, a monthly email called Writing Without Waffle, and that's marketing and copywriting insights and wordy humour that will arrive in your inbox on the last Friday of every month. So there's lots and lots of resources. I've also, for your listeners, Marina, set up a discount code for the site review document that's in the shop on my website. It's usually £97, but for the whole of the rest of this year to the end of 2016, if you put the discount code RADIO when you download that site review document, you'll get a 111-point checklist telling you what you need to have on your website, and you can mark yes or no against each thing. There's the rationale against every recommendation that I make. And so people that download that absolutely free with the discount code RADIO till the end of 2016. Those are lots and lots of resources that are all available on JackieBarrie.com. And to stay in touch with me direct, you can follow me on Twitter @JackieBarrie, and I'll be happy to connect with anybody there.
Wow, Jackie, what a privilege. I feel already stronger physically, mentally, and worldly from both of us. Until next time, mind your words. Goodbye.
Bye.